This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
As we start into the final day of the convention, I do want to thank all of the listeners who had come up to me during this convention and saying how much they enjoyed the podcast and following all the episodes that we do from week to week and asking me about some of my favorite podcasts that I've recorded as well. And it's just been phenomenal, and I appreciate all of you guys and gals who have come up, and those of you who do listening and who are listening then right now. And also to those who have as well said that you wanted to support the Magic Word Podcast with your financial donations. And so one other person that I wanted to draw attention to, and that's David McKnight. And David is our newest friend of the Magic Word. Thank you for your financial donation to help keep this podcast going. I would also just kind of mention that to others. If you see me at the convention, that you can always just give me some cash at the while we're at the convention that will go towards your membership as a friend of the Magic Word, and of course then get all the perks that go with that. Or if you wish to pledge for a monthly donation of something just for the cost of a cup of coffee, or perhaps if you can afford maybe a nicer glass of single malt scotch or a martini or something, that'd be greatly appreciated. There are ways in which you can help us through your donations and through pledges. If you just go to the magicwordpodcast.com, you'll see a link there that will say become a friend, and there's a video that gives you more information as to why that we really do need your financial support in order to keep this going. So I just wanted to again welcome David McKnight, and also I'd like to be welcoming you, so please consider your donation or your pledge. Thanks very much. Scotty out. We are now at the beginning of the end of this very fine convention. This is day number 4, and much like the first day, it's not a full day. In fact, this is not even a full morning. We've basically got one lecture coming up with Brent Braun that'll be here in about an hour or so, but I am going to give you some more content from some of the people who have not yet left. Obviously, that makes sense. How can I talk with people who have already left? Anyhow, so I've got a lot of people who I've kind of been putting off a little bit, knowing they were going to be here on Friday or Monday, and here it is on Labor Day on Monday. And one of the people that I love seeing every year at the TAOM from San Antonio, and he and I have spoken at many other conventions where we cross paths. And here he is, Mr. Doug Gorman. Hey, Doug.
How you doing, Scott? Good to see you.
It's good seeing you then, too, my friend. So have you enjoyed this particular convention?
One of the better TAOMs, I think. It was terrific. Great shows, great talent, a nice dealer room, wonderful hotel.
Mm-hmm. You know, at first they were concerned a little bit about, Charlie Randall was talking about the dealer room maybe being too tight or too small, and yet for the size group that we had, about almost 200 or a little over 200 registrants for this, I don't think it was ever jam-packed, you know. So.
No, it was. I never saw it overly crowded, but I never saw it empty either.
That's right. And when you have something about that size, it was just perfect, so it didn't look like it was just an empty hall, you know.
Exactly, and a nice variety of dealers, so that you wanted to go back more than once just to see everything.
Yeah, it really was. Now, what was it that was outstanding to you that you'll remember about this one in particular? I mean, I know it's like your favorite child, but what do you like?
Well, I loved the evening shows, particularly Chris Carter and Michael Finney and Steve Valentine.
Yeah,
those were the highlights for me. And then the stage contest. I have to tell you, we've got a new name for the folks from San Antonio. We're calling them the San Antonio Magic Mafia. Both the stage and comedy winners came from San Antonio this year. We're really proud of that.
Yeah, they were really good. It was so fun with Greg Youngs doing comedy, and then finishing off with actually beginning the contest with Bill Winters, who had taken the stage, and both were good. Actually, as I recall, I believe Bill had won comedy a couple of years ago.
Bill had won comedy, so this was his second win here, and Greg won comedy last year. In fact, I think 3 out of the last 4 years.
Yeah,
those two shared the comedy prize.
And I tell you, I think Greg's got such perfect comedy timing, you know.
Absolutely. Greg and I get together almost once a week.
Do you?
And so I'm laughing most of the time.
I would guess so. I too enjoyed the ones you were talking about, but we also had I thought, a good close-up show yesterday afternoon. The professional was it yesterday afternoon? Yeah, it was professional close-up show. You want to talk a little bit about that then also?
Yeah, terrific. Again, Chad Long, funny guy, and I just really thoroughly enjoyed his part, especially, and Eric Tate. Talks very fast, hugely talented with the cards, and I really enjoyed all of it. Really.
Yeah, I like that he was mixing some very difficult sleight of hand with some that was not, and his entertainment value was off the chart.
Brent Braun did the color vision box.
Yeah,
best routine I've ever seen. It was really a fooler.
It was,
because some of what he did could not have been done in the traditional way.
Yeah. That was really good. And as you pointed out, also seeing friends and being here, this is, other conventions certainly tout themselves as being friendly. I think ours is almost overly so.
Yeah, it's terrific. The older you get, the less important the magic becomes and the more important the people become. And it's wonderful to come and see people at least once a year that you might not otherwise get to see.
Well, you and I go to a lot of conventions, and I see you at some other mentalism or mind conventions and things, like that, because I know that you have a bizarre twist to you also, like I feel that I do. That's one of the many things I love about you. Plus going to Fectors and other places, like that as well. Each has its own unique kind of character, I guess, if you will.
I would agree. And as you just said, this is a very friendly convention.
And when I was talking with some of the people who had never been here before, particularly I like to ask the talent, will you be coming back? Yeah, I'll come back even though I'm not going to be performing. You people are just wonderful here.
Yeah,
there is Southern hospitality.
There is such a thing. I really believe that. The other thing I noticed that didn't have anything to do with magic, but a lot of guys and gals brought their dogs this time. There were a lot of dogs here.
There were until you mentioned, I hadn't thought about that. I saw one here, another one there, and I kind of started thinking back. There were a lot of dogs here.
Yeah,
it's a dog-friendly hotel here.
Yeah, and terrific. The hotel is one of the best we've had for a long time. Just the layout, everything was easy to get to. There was a large lobby with plenty of chairs that you could sit down and visit or session or whatever you wanted to do. It was. I don't see how it could have been any better.
And the hotel staff, I thought, was very accommodating to us. They were glad we're here. I've been to some hotels, and I'm sure you have as well, in which is kind of like, we would rather you not. You're just another number and more money to us.
Exactly.
But this is not.
Didn't feel that way at all.
Yeah.
We had dinner last night at the hotel restaurant, and just the friendliest staff and helpful.
Yeah.
Always asking what else they could do for you.
Well, I agree with you as far as also the ease of getting around, so we didn't have to travel, across the hotel to get to some other room or something. Everything was fairly well compact, I think, between the first and second.
And another good thing about the hotel was they had sufficient number of elevators that you didn't have to stand and wait for one forever.
That's a positive thing, as well. And the nice thing is they even, the breakfast was included, but not only that, they've given us, like where we're seated right now, a breakout area just for the magicians to dine.
That's right. I don't know how they could have been more accommodating.
Yeah.
Of course, now we see it from the outside. The people that had to do the work, I'm sure they had issues that they had to resolve.
Right up to the very last minute, because we did have a few things that we had to worry about. For an example, that Mario the Maker was supposed to be here, and his wife Katie, and her father was having some surgery, and so we had to get a replacement. And C.J. Johnson filled in more than adequately. He was great,
Yeah, it's terrific. So,
and what about last evening's show, Rob Lake? Did you? That was we haven't had a big illusionist. We don't see a lot of illusionists for obvious reasons. What do you think?
I thought it was terrific, and I love the fact that he talked about Kirby Van Birch as his mentor. 25 years ago, my wife and I saw Kirby Van Birch at his own theater in Branson. He had his own theater back then. Absolutely terrific, and I wondered what happened to Kirby Van Birch, and lo and behold, he's sitting 3 seats away from me last night in the show, and it was nice to meet him and visit with him for a little bit.
He is a nice guy, and he's living in Houston now, and I guess I hadn't talked with you about that, but he'd actually hired me to as a consultant because he was trying to go back to Branson. He was working on getting a contract and trying to get things going and doing some close-up instead of stage, and then having some other people. And the contract didn't work out with some of the places, or a place that he wanted. So now he's looking at another venue closer to Houston that he may be opening, and so I'm working with him to maybe make that come about too. So
that's terrific. Yeah. I'll never forget. I was up to Branson, saw his show twice in Branson, and he had a juggler by the name of, it was Van Burchen Welford was the first time we saw him, and that juggler, Welford, he was really funny and very, very good.
Was he doing his second sight or two-person mind-reading act with Bambi at the time when you saw him?
I don't think so. I don't remember that anyway.
Well, it would have been something you would have remembered because he told me that was really a centerpiece, and he was wanting to maybe bring that back and do that as part of his new act, too.
Good.
Yeah. Well, it really was, I think, a very interesting, a great show. I think well-rounded from the standpoint we had something for the family. We had an illusion show that we haven't had in long years. If somebody's going to do an illusion show, they might bring a sub-trunk, for an example. But this was a lot more stuff that he had brought. Plus the FISM winners like Eric Tate, and just some of the people who were here. I saw Billy Kidd last night. Then also,
did you?
Yeah,
I have met Billy in 2007 in California
with Gazzo.
With Gazzo, yep. I was out there with Richard Turner at the Magic Castle, and Richard had a gathering of card men on a Saturday afternoon at the place we were staying.
Yeah.
And Gazzo came. There were a lot of card people, Bill Malone and others. And Billy was with Gazzo at the time, so right. I met him a long time.
Yeah, she was just here for, I guess, a short time. I saw her in Steve Valentine's lecture last night, and then during the President's Party, we sat and chatted for a while, because last time I actually had booked Gazzo to come through for a lecture tour some years ago, and Gazzo and Billy stayed at my house overnight, so I did an episode with each of them also, so you can go back in the podcast episodes and hear that as well. Plus, you can hear one I had with Kirby Van Burch when he first moved back to Houston a few years ago, so you can go back in the archives and find that then as well.
One other thing that blew me away, as magicians, we kind of know how things are done, but Chris Carter's mind-reading piece, I got called on. He identified me from a stack of things before he was blindfolded in the show. So I'm still recovering.
Even with the knowledge you have?
Yes. I mean, in the moment, I was completely stunned.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Upon reflection, you figure out, well, it must have been whatever. But in the moment, he got me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned Kirby Van Burch, or that you brought him up, and then you also mentioned Richard Turner, and now we kind of want to go back to that then for just a moment then also. Sure. Because you were telling me that Richard is kind of doing, he's busier than ever right now, because he's been off the convention scene. We haven't seen him around for a while, and haven't seen him on America's Got Talent or whatever else. It's been a while since we've last seen him. So what's he been up to?
Well, Richard created back in the 1980s.
Explain your relationship, by the way, too.
Okay, well, Richard and I have been friends since about 2006. I've done a lot of traveling with Richard, helping him, and Richard is probably the biggest reason I got to perform at Magic Castle for 12 years. He opened the door for me, and we're good friends. And back in the middle 80s, Richard created a board game called Texas Showdown, and a combination of blackjack, poker, and Monopoly. It's a great game.
Okay.
And we play, when I say we, myself and a number of Richard's neighbors and Richard, we play that game every Thursday afternoon. And it's a lot of fun. Well, Richard is now putting that game into an app.
Really?
His son, who graduated from Trinity University in San Antonio, is a computer guy, and he's the lead engineer on this project, and they are building an app, and everybody's going to be able to play Texas Showdown.
So it's not like a board game you have to buy the board, actually.
I don't think you can anymore. Okay. It was at one time, but he's putting it all on an app now. It'll be a very interactive app.
Wow.
And so we used to play this showdown at 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoons. We now play it at 12:15 so he can get out in time for a 2 o'clock meeting every Thursday on the development of this app.
So he has some consultants who are helping him with the development of that.
Yeah.
That'll go through iTunes, I guess, or something.
I don't know exactly how, but I know that the fellow who invented Siri is a big part of this project.
Wow. I wonder if somebody came to him or vice versa.
I can't tell. I don't know exactly how it got started.
Now you're telling me though that he's busier than ever and traveling around the world still and doing stuff, or are you going out with him like you were? Or?
Last time I was with him was to Aspen last summer.
Okay.
Summer last year.
Was that a conference or what was that?
He was speaking to a corporate group. He has an hour program that he does that is a combination of his performing with cards and giving a kind of a motivational type speech.
Right.
Very, very good. So.
Wow.
And so, but we've done a lot of that kind of traveling together.
And then I'm assuming that his son Asa Spades does that now.
No, actually, believe it or not, as an example, during COVID, he went to Russia.
Wow.
By himself.
I saw the video. I saw that on YouTube.
By himself.
Yeah. By himself.
He was there for a month.
Wow.
Quite an experience.
Right. He was, because he was on Russian television there. So, yeah. Interesting. Well, good seeing you, Doug, and it's a great convention. We were talking about other conventions coming up, and you've got another one that's going to be in Dallas. Tell me a little bit about that one.
It's called Magistrorum. It's a brand new bazaar slash storytelling convention, and I'll be selling some of my stuff there, and I'll be performing in one of the shows there. It's going to be a great convention. It's a niche convention, It's bazaar slash storytelling.
Right.
I think storytelling is probably the most significant aspect of magic from my perspective. If you can do a card trick, and people will say why, but if you have a story that justifies why you're doing it, then people won't be wondering why you're doing it or trying to figure out how you're doing it. They'll be caught up in the story.
Yeah.
Stories
and they'll remember that also.
Yes.
A lot longer, I think.
Yes. Because stories tap the emotion.
Love that. Yes,
and emotions are much more memorable than just reactions.
Right.
And so it's very important to me.
I remember Penn in particular, talking about that, where a magic trick shouldn't just be a trick to fool the eyes. It should be something in which that you're entertaining the mind. And it's like, why are you doing it? What's your justification behind this? And make a story out of it. And they're very well known for doing just that. They'll take, not necessarily a common trick. I mean, they're inventing things all the time, but they give a reason for each of those things. It's not just look at the pretty box, but, this happens to be something that came from India or whatever it is. Make a story around it.
Sure, absolutely.
That's important, I think.
I think so, too. Yeah.
So that's coming up when?
Actually, next weekend.
Okay, all right.
I got 2 days at home before I head to Dallas, so.
That's going to be fun. And if anybody's interested, by the way, do you know where they go to get information on that convention?
I think if you search Magistrorum.
Spell that.
Magistrorum. On Facebook. I know they got stuff on Facebook, and I know if you just do a Google search, it will come up as well. Yeah. And it's in Las Colinas, suburb of Dallas. It's actually near north side of Dallas somewhere.
It's towards DFW out there, airport.
Yeah.
So you can fly into DFW and go over there then too. Yeah. Well, great talking with you, Doug, as always. Catching up.
Take care, Scott.
Glad you enjoyed the convention. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Doug Gorman. Scotty out. One of the people who came from out of state is someone that is also a past national president of the Society of American Magicians. We've actually had a pretty good cadre from the SAM Glitterati has been represented at this convention. And so I'm here with a fellow Santa Claus. Here he is, Mark Weidhaas. Hey, Mark.
Hi, Scotty. How are you?
Fine, thank you. We should exchange greetings by saying ho, ho,
ho.
There we go. So you are going to be very involved, of course, with next year's convention. But have you attended TAOM? Is this one of your first that you've been to here? No. I thought you've been some. Matter of fact, I do remember you because you had given me this award.
That's right. Back in 2009, it was I think my first TAOM. Been to a couple of them. Yeah, it was in Houston, 2009.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And was that the year you were president? I think it was, wasn't it?
No. Nope. That was the year that, when I gave you the award, it was.
Yes.
The first TAOM, though, Mike Miller was president. It was the year before me, so it would have been 2010 that I would have given you the award. That might have been in Dallas.
I think now that I'm thinking about it, I remember where we were, and I think that was Dallas as well. But you, Mike, and Vinny Grasso were kind of the three guys who always kind of stayed together there.
Yeah, the three amigos.
That's right. And Mike has been involved very much with the talent and is working then hard for next year. And you have what has been your official capacity?
Yeah, because this is a combined convention, the SAM convention and the TAOM are working together, along with hosting the North American Championships of Magic next year. So I am the co-chair on the SAM side. Dal Sanders is the co-chair on the TAOM and Dallas Magic Club side.
What exactly does one have to do in order to compete at the FISM level? In other words, do you have to have won something like in your club or in your state or country or something to then come through? Is this like the finals that the people who are selected will then go automatically to FISM? And to get there, do they have to, or can it be your first competition you've ever been in?
Yeah, no, not at all. It could be your first competition.
Really? Okay.
But there is a qualifying process. You send in a video of your presentation, and so if the judges feel, the people that are qualifying, if they feel that you're at a certain level, then you have the opportunity to compete. And if it is your first time, do everything you can, practice, get in front of people now, use your local club. That's why we have these local clubs. Perform for them, get your people that can help give you constructive criticism and make it as good as you can. And we really want to see you next year in Dallas.
What is some key advice you give someone in order to have a FISM-worthy act? That may be a Mark D'Souza question, but...
Yeah. From what I've seen at the Quebec last time, the acts that really exceeded were the ones that had a story woven into you've only got 8 to 10 minutes that you're supposed to perform, but in that time, if you can tell a story, and of course be proficient in performing magic and have the audience on your side, but those seem to be the best. Yeah.
Well, some of the people who are from South Korea and elsewhere in Asia are basically manipulators, and it's really not a story. So I understand to have a story, because I was just talking with Doug Gorman. We were talking about the importance of storytelling, certainly, in order to have something that's more memorable. And certainly I think for FISM that's very important as well, but then also to have great manipulative skills doesn't hurt.
Right. That's very, very, very true, yeah.
If some of these guys are just doing, card manipulations or billiard balls or whatever else, and it's just their skill which is a different level, because there are different categories then as well, which is my next question of whether I'm assuming that there will be different categories you can compete in next year. It's not just close up at stage.
Yeah, you'll have to talk with our FISM judges, Joan Caesar and Vinny Grasso on the SAM side, and get the lowdown of exactly what the rules are, and
the rules are posted on the website, I guess.
They may not be there because we've kind of held off
until this
putting some information until this
convention
was over. So, but they'll be up there very soon.
I wondered about that because since it is a combined convention, the SAM was a few weeks ago, that you didn't want to jump the gun since it is combined and wanted to wait until we had ours completed before you really went full bore.
Exactly, and we've got lots of news to share. We're very excited. Like I said, Mike Miller's working on the acts. It's one of the reasons why we were here. We wanted to be able to get together with our team and plan for next year. And we came in with some ideas and concepts, and we've left where Mike's already got people he's sending contracts to.
Yeah.
I can't announce them yet,
right.
But they'll be coming out very soon because we do want everyone to see how great this convention's going to be. It's going to be a blowout.
It really will be, and I know we have will have some FISM winners, some other FISM contestants in the past, and so you can kind of get an idea of what that's like. But again, once that somebody gets there and they start seeing the level of performances, they may be thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm not worthy." On the other hand, it's like I could do that. But, it's pretty tough at that level.
Yeah, it's something that we should all strive for. Right?
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. And typically, again, like with the SAM and with the IBM and with the TAOM, we do have the competitions, but it's just kind of, although it's open, there are fewer and fewer people who want to compete each year. But this next year, there'll probably be several days of competition, just as like with FISM, because this will include all of North America, and Canada, of course, and Mexico, as well as the United States.
Yeah, and it's a shorter convention too, so it's going to be, there might be some overlap that we're gonna have to, the schedule is going to be a little tricky to see how we can stuff everything into that.
When you say a shorter one, actually it's a little bit longer than typical TAOM. Typically we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then like this morning, just a short morning. But with this, we're going to be actually adding the day Thursday. So it will be a little bit longer, but not as long as FISM typically is.
Right. Well, so Thursday night, Thursday afternoon. Well, we don't have the schedule yet, so I'm not sure. Yeah. But I think the concept is Thursday afternoon, we kind of like the soft opening, but there'll be some party, or I'm sure there's going to be a party Thursday night, and I think there's a show Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, TAOM usually closes up around noon, and we're going to use Labor Day. We're going to use that full day for events.
So when people are considering coming, they should probably make reservations at the hotel through Monday night?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because they'll still be having activities through Monday.
Yep.
Well, that's a lot more than what we typically do, but then this is not going to be your typical kind of convention, though, either. This is going to be kind of a one-off, because we as a TAOM has never partnered with the SAM. The IBM and SAM have several combined conventions and have had over the generations, but this first time the TAOM is doing this. Yeah, this
was an idea that we came up with to what can we do to boost people attending, and I think it's going to be fantastic. For on a personal note, both Mike Miller and myself, this is our final convention that we'll be involved with, at least for the near future. So we've decided that we need to pass the mantle on to new people for
pouring everything into this.
Yeah, and so we are. Yeah, we want this to be the last hurrah.
Yeah. That sounds like it's going to be great. Let me also just point out that for those of you who might be thinking, well, the registration rates are a little bit higher than what we've had. I mean, I think this year, was it for the TAOM, 200 and something, and next year it'll be $495. But there are more days. There are a lot more acts that you're going to be seeing at a level that you've never seen before. And so the expenses are a lot more that we're going to be having with the joint convention next year as well. So.
We have a banquet, too, that's included.
Good point. Yep.
And there's another event that's going to be included also.
It's secret right now.
We did as far as North American Championships or combined conventions. I did some research, and I went back to when I first got involved was 2008, the combined convention there, and I did some research, and guess how much registration was in 2008? $495. And 2014, $495. So it really hasn't changed for this type of an event for over 15 years.
And we've had good attendance at those conventions then as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think people should definitely be signing up for this. And the website where they can go right now to register.
Ooh, that's what I was trying to look before we started. But I don't think I'm going to find it.
Okay, it was some. I mentioned it earlier in one of the episodes when I was talking with Dal about that, but I believe it was something like TAOM-NACEM.org or .com.
It'll be a .com.
A .com, okay. He's feverishly looking for this. He's scrolling quickly then right now. So, again, a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up for next year, and it's going to be the path to FISM and tour in Italy for 25. Is that right? Yeah, I guess 25 is when the...
5, correct, in Italy. Yeah.
So
are you going to Italy?
I'm already signed up.
I am too. It'll be my first overseas convention for FISM. Yeah,
FISM is fun. I have been going since 1988. I think my first one was in Scheveningen, in Holland, and so I've been attending most of them since then. Okay, here it is. What's the?
It's www.fism-nacm.com.
There you go. I was kind of close. I had .com. So that's great. Mark, thanks very much, and so good to always see you here.
You're
and
welcome.
It's
Houston's been a great city for this. This has really been a lot of fun. A lot of friends. There's history with TAOM. There's history with the SAM too.
Right.
But it's great to see people who've been attending for 50 years plus years, and just amazing to me.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like Trixie Bond just celebrated her 50th year. She was just given an award for 50 years of consecutive membership within the TAOM. So, and there's several others. There's a couple coming up next year who'll have 65 years of membership.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. One last question, and I know some people have asked me about this. Is there any plan for the near future that you've already talked about of another combined convention with the IBM, or is there anything on the table for that?
I'm going to have to leave that up to whoever
you're out of
comes
here.
In there. Yeah, but I think that's something that the two organizations need to do if they want to survive or at least continue doing conventions. There's just way too much competition with conventions right now. And people like to go to the niche conventions where they're, if they're into mentalism or whatever it is, and I understand that. But, when you have something that's got history like 50 years or 65 years, boy, how do you stop coming to those?
Well, that's exactly right then too. And I know in the past that those conventions have been great, and there have been a lot of things the SAM has been doing in order to change the direction of the ship, and one of which that for those life members, we are now able to access the MUM magazine by going online. And so little things like that, because I know that like with the IBM and the SAM, that our journals are the most expensive part, and the mailing of those.
Yeah, there's some real challenges right now with that.
Because magazines are not something that's growing.
Yeah. And all the other businesses that have magazines, trade journals and things, they're like, you still have a printed magazine? Why? So
yeah, something for us to consider.
Yeah.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, so that was Mark Weidhaas. This is Scotty out. I'm now here with another pastor, actually not a past president. He is actually the president this year.
Incumbent.
The most illustrious. I wonder why they call it. We'll talk about that. Mr. John Sturk from Chicago. Hey, John.
Morning, Scotty. How are you?
Fine. Or Mr. Sturk.
Oh, please call me Dr. Mr. President.
So what is illustrious? I've often heard that term when they refer to their president.
Well, back in the day, around the turn of the last century, when a lot of the fraternal orders were very popular, like Masons and Elks and things, and they used very grandiose titles. Like in the Masons, it's Most Worshipful is the head of that. So because so many of our original founders were Masons and active in other fraternal organizations, they carried over some of that stuff to us. So that's where Most Illustrious has come from. All members are illustrious compeers, and then the president is Most Illustrious.
I did not know that, so there we are. So all of us who are members are illustrious compeers. I knew we were compeers, but I didn't know we were illustrious.
You could read a lot about our history in our brand new book that just came out, Magic in America, The History of the SAM, a 7-year project begun by PNP David Goodsell, longtime editor of MUM. And just as he was finishing the first draft, he passed away. And so we turned to David Charvet, great historian and author, to take the project over the finish line. And that book came out just about a month ago at our convention in New Orleans. And so it is now available at magicsam.com/historybook.
And what I think is interesting about the book is not just necessarily the history of the SAM, which, of course, is the meat of the thing, but also about
the book starts off right around 1776. And I think in the first paragraph it mentions Thomas Jefferson attending a first, maybe not exactly magic, but a performance of unusual quality that he attended in France while minister to France. And then the origins of magic in North America, right up into our founding in 1902.
During the Civil War and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And then it took us up to our founding, sort of the pre-founding in the late 19th century, our founding right around 1902, our first couple years, all the way up until today.
And it's not only beautifully written, but also illustrated with the photos and everything. That's gorgeous.
It's truly a gorgeous book. We have it available in 2 editions, a standard edition with a red leatherette cover and a deluxe edition in a black leather cover. We do have the deluxe edition is limited edition, limited 250 copies. We've got maybe 15 or so left. So if you're thinking about waiting until holiday time, don't.
Yeah.
You can always buy it now and forget about it until Christmas. But I think if you wait until Christmas time this year, you might be out of luck.
The timing, speaking of the timing of this particular convention, the TAOM, always falls after the IBM and the SAM conventions. And so this is one of the first conventions that the incoming presidents, the newly elected presidents, attend, major convention like that. So it's always good to see and greet the people. And so this, I assume, is you were at Magic Live.
No.
Weren't you? No? Okay, so this is it, since you were in Dublin.
Yeah, I was at, after New Orleans, where I was inaugurated, I went to Abbott's get-together the following week. That's my always convention.
Yeah.
I've been going to that one for 20 years now.
Well, you've got a part in that, too.
Yeah, I do now. But, so I go to that one on the regular. SAM, of course. And so I'm making a lot more appearances at conventions this year than I usually do. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm not a full-time performer. I have a regular day job. I perform... I'm a 40-miler, so just stick around my local area, and doing as much traveling as I know I will be doing this year is kind of a big change for me, but also very exciting.
Which conventions are you looking forward to, other than the TAOM now that you've been here? What other conventions are you looking forward to attending?
Well, I have some visits planned for Ann Arbor, Michigan, to visit the assembly there in September. In October, I'll be visiting Minneapolis Assembly for their centennial. I will be at Wonder Bash in Grand Rapids in the springtime. And for my very first time ever, I'm really excited to go to 4F.
Oh, cool.
Of course, I've heard a lot about it. I'm excited to go for the very first time.
And no international travel like Blackpool or anything like that?
Nothing planned yet. Those are the things I've got on the books right now, and we'll just see how things go. Just roll with it.
Right. So if you are attending a convention, then look for John. He may or may not be there. Could be a surprise.
And, of course, if you don't see me at a convention, if you're an SAM member, by all means, hop on to the SAM community, our new social media platform. No Musk, no Zuck, just Magic. So log into magicsam.com, and I'll see you around the interwebs.
So one last question. What have you thought about this convention? You've attended the TAOM before, so ours is your first one.
It is my first TAOM, and I am very impressed. I'm looking forward to our partnership next year for the joint convention and the FISM North American Championships. I saw a lot of lecturers here that I have never seen before. I was really, really impressed with Steve Valentine. Mm-hmm. I had never seen him perform live before. I saw him on some TV shows.
Sure.
I told him how much I liked him in House. He did an episode of House where he was an illusionist in the hospital.
Yeah.
Wow, what an incredible deep thinker that guy is.
Yeah, what a great lecture last night.
Yeah, he instantly converted me into a fan. So
I was just talking with Greg Lancaster at breakfast this morning, and he was saying he's attended so many TAOMs and other conventions as well, and he said, I've got to say that lecture with Steve's last night was one of the best lectures I've ever seen at any convention anywhere.
It was terrific. Was also really glad to share our Chicago secret in the form of Christopher Carter, who performed here. He rarely ever does conventions. But back in the day, we had him at the Chicago Magic Lounge a bunch, so I knew how great he was, and I was just excited to have everyone else see him too. And of course, one of my all-time favorites, I'll start a fan club for this guy, Chad Long.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Chad's for almost 20 years now, and I could watch him all day long.
What a lineup that we've had. You know, the ones you mentioned, plus Eric Tate, and then last night, of course, Michael Finney, and Rob Lake doing the illusions and everything. We just had a mound of talent here.
Yeah, it's been a killer convention, very fast-paced, a little more fast-paced than I'm used to. With a
lot of overlap.
With a sort of lackadaisical pace that we have over at Abbott's. This one kept you hopping, so... Glad I brought my notebook.
There were things going on until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Like I think the Midnight Madness.
Yeah, you know who was who was the penultimate performer for Midnight Madness?
It wasn't Steve. Steve was last, I think.
It was yours truly.
You were next to last.
Yeah, I got on stage about 2:15 in the morning.
Okay.
And I got off by 2:18 because I made sure not to prolong the event anymore.
By that time of the morning.
Yeah.
So much going on. So, well, again, that's something that we're known for, those kinds of things. That started with Roger Klaus so many years ago with Midnight Madness, and he used to just kind of call on his friends while he was here since he knew us, and he would say, okay, hey, Scott, I want you to do that particular trick, like 3 minutes. That's all I need, And anyhow, that's continued on to this day. And Fabian is the one I think maybe taking this over. Does a great job as MC.
Yeah, I was first time I met Fabian.
He's got one of the best lectures over here also.
I got to sit with him over dinner and have a nice chat. Terrific guy. Look forward to knowing him more.
I think you'll enjoy getting to know him as the years progress. And also, I'm sure you'll have a great year going to these other conventions. And if you are interested in having or hosting the national president of the Society of American Magicians, be sure to reach out to John and comp him. He would be glad to come if he can arrange it with the schedule. How to get in touch with you?
I mean, usually if you invite me somewhere, I show up. Whether it's just for like
dinner,
coffee, dinner. I'm very food motivated, so that helps a lot. But yeah, you can email me at jsturk@magicsam.com. I'm all over the socials: Facebook, Twitter, or I'm sorry, X. I'm on there. I'm on Threads, Instagram, and of course our SAM community. So just reach out. I'll be happy to talk with you, and we hope to convert some compeers and maybe bring some folks who have lapsed back into the fold. We've got a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of benefits for membership. So visit magicsam.com and check us out.
There we go. Some good advice, and good seeing you, John. Always good talking to you, my friend.
Glad to see you, Scotty. Thank you.
For the Magic Word Podcast. That was John Sturk. This is Scotty out. John Sturk just mentioned a few moments ago about Midnight Madness and him performing. He was the penultimate performer. And I had also mentioned what a great job that Fabian had done as the MC. And I think he's going to hopefully take this over, because we've had several people who have MC'd over the years since Roger Klaus had first started this, and then he passed. And we've had various people like Danny Garcia, Jamie Salinas, and others. But Fabian, being the young man he is, and also so very skilled at magic, will probably be the next one. So I've got him with me then right now, Fabian Moreno. Hey, Fabian.
Hey, Scott. Good morning.
Or Fabian.
It doesn't matter. Potato at the end of the day.
And I do have to comment then also on your skills. And as a lecturer last year at the TAOM, when we were in Fort Worth, that you were the Friday or Monday morning lecturer. Right now, we're getting ready to go in to see Brent Braun and Andy actually to lecture. And a lot of times they save the best for last. And although we've had some really good lecturers throughout the weeks leading up to Monday. I mean, Brent, as I know, is going to be killing it. And you were the one who lectured last time on Monday. Got a standing ovation. Everybody said, man, if you didn't stick around on Monday to see his lecture, it was great. So it was wonderful. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I felt like it ruined with my MO, my method of operation, because I kind of like staying at the back of the room until I'm needed.
Yeah.
So when people, oh my God, you got to see him, I was like, shh, don't tell anybody.
You're a low-key guy. That's
what
why I'm saying you're like Roger Klaus, from an underground, he's kind of like, don't need to be taking all of the credit.
Yeah, well, those are the guys that, taught me well and I hung out with. And I never
Gary
got...
Plans?
Gary, shh, we don't say that name on air. They have people looking for him still. No, but yeah, it was, Midnight Madness just kind of fell into my lap because of these guys that I grew up respecting and hanging out with. So it's very sweet that you use the word host and MC. I feel more like a wrangler, really, every night that it happens.
Yeah.
Because we get into a lot of shenanigans. As you know, I'm all for a little bit of fun, and with that comes a little bit of trouble every now and then.
Well, it's after midnight, so you can.
Yeah, after Clapton said it best. After midnight's where it happens.
After midnight.
Yeah, no, but it was a lot of fun this year. I really enjoyed it.
Now, as I mentioned, that the way Roger used to do that was kind of seeing who was there, and then during the convention say, hey, can you do that? Is that the same kind of thing that you do as far as deciding who's not going to be on the bill?
So I start planning maybe at least a month and a half, 2 months out, I start putting phone calls and whatnot, asking if they're going to be around, because at the end of the day, these are all expenses that have to be made. Some people are in the area and some people aren't. One of the gags for this week happened on the way in. I knew Chad Long. I knew I wanted Chad to be opening, so I texted him about a month beforehand. We stayed in touch up until then. Chad's a buddy, and I love him to death. But at the same time, you want to give them a hard time. So coming into town, I texted Homer Lee Wagner. I said, hey, I have Chad Long opening for us. Can you help me mess with him? And he goes, what do you need me to do? So after his set, he sent in a video basically saying that he was using material that wasn't completely attributed to Chad, but rather to Homer Lee Wag himself. And how the good thing about, or the secret ace of the Slave for a convention is having a good hairstyle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because Chad lifted that from Homer, too, apparently.
Because I remember you during the professional close-up show yesterday that you were taking some videos, and Chad was saying something about, is this going back to Homer? Now I understand what he was saying.
He goes, I'm doing this, we're filming this for the creator of the piece from 30 years ago, so it's just going to be an instructional piece now. I haven't sent that clip to Homer yet. But that's kind of how it is. And then there's always surprises that are happening. You never know what the wild cards are going to be. This year, this is my second year heading it, I had more people come up to me because of what had happened last year wanting to be on the list. But at that point, we already had a pretty substantial list, and we had some waitlist slots. But I love the fact that Giancarlo Bernini closed out the show with a piece he's actually doing on Fool Us later on in this season, which only proves that I have good taste.
Yes, you do. Now, you had said last year that you're going to be kind of stepping away from magic a little bit. You have not completely, obviously, because of your profession and working with your father in the business.
Yes. So I'm heading my family's luxury watch boutique. So that kind of took up the last year and a half, 2 years of my time. And now that I finally have a sense of rhythm, taking in more work again. But I'm only focusing in the San Antonio area and some college work that I still have that's keeping me traveling. Because I'm at the boutique 6 days out of the week, when I leave to do a show, I'm only out about 36 hours. So I fly out the same day. I do 2 shows for whatever university or college has me in, fly out the next day. Unless I have a friend or two in the city and I want maybe bum around for the weekend, I'll do that. But I try not to take that liberty. Here, it's different just because it's Labor Day weekend and it plays out beautifully. But I also now have a residency downtown San Antonio Friday nights because I think it's important to stay sharp. And that's just to network and to get out. And people come into the boutique, and I've had it happen now a handful of times. Well, you look familiar. I said, I don't know. I said, oh, my God, you were the magician. You were wearing a nice suit and a nice watch. And I was like, once again, don't tell anybody. So it's always trying to stay in the shadows.
Keep it a secret, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I don't want to keep you a secret because those who are listening right now, and if you're thinking about you have an opening slot for a lecture coming up, you might want to give Fabian a call because I said it's a fantastic lecture. And you live in San Antonio, so if it is somewhere within striking distance, since he's centrally located, he could be there.
Yeah, I love driving. I've always considered myself a bit of a cowboy in that sense. You just need me, I show up, and then I'm gone. Just don't make plans for dinner.
What is your email address so people can contact you to do that?
It is thepeterfabian@gmail.com. In fact, you set up I was so honored and so thankful that you had up a single one-hit spot in Houston a few months ago. Yeah, which is a great compliment. I had a lot of fun. You missed out, but we caught up at Las Vegas and here, so it's always a pleasure with the gang.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, Fabian, thanks again for all that you do. And I know you've been attending TAOM for a long time and have been enjoying it for years.
Yeah, since I was about 12 years old. So it's fun to see all these guys. Well, I've known Fabian, but I didn't know Fabian.
Lonnie, he is really good.
No, your words, not mine. But it was a lot of fun. I stayed up till 5 in the morning. We tripped the other day. That was a great conversation. It feels like coming home. It feels like coming home. And I only ever do 2 of these a year now. It's Magic Live and this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Both excellent in their own ways.
Absolutely. I just like staying home.
Yeah, I understand that too. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Fabian Moreno. Scotty out. The convention is pretty much now over, and I talked with the president, Mr. Dick Olson, earlier, and now he is past president. So he can actually start to take a little bit of a breather as he's passed the baton basically to Dal Sanders for next year. But I want to welcome back again Dick Olson. Hey there, Dick.
Good morning, Scott.
So, looking back already, I mean, you haven't had a chance really to take much of a breath, but in retrospect, how do you think this has gone?
I met all my expectations.
That's
let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I exceeded, but I think that the key is we wanted to have a really good convention with proper talent and facilities that everybody enjoyed. So at the President's Party last night, got a lot of good comments and no negative comments. So to me, that's a success if we do that.
Right. Well, I think history will prove this is one of the better ones.
I think so. And it starts with the talent. We really were able to get some excellent talent this year. Mm-hmm. Every show we did and every lecture had a lot of power to it, and the people just rave about it. So I'm really excited about that.
Right, and the hotel was great. Your staff really had pulled everything together, and it just ran so smoothly on the top of the water. Although I know there was a lot of paddling under the.
There was a tremendous amount of power. In fact, if we go back about 18 months when we didn't have a hotel, we actually looked at every hotel that was large enough to hold a convention in the whole Houston metropolitan area, going clear down to Galveston. There was nobody that came up with a better deal than the one we had here. Plus, the staff at this Hilton Post Oak in the Galleria was just phenomenal to work with. I would highly recommend it to anybody thinking about having a meeting space.
So many advantages here, one of which, not the least of which, they refer to this, of course, as Post Oak Galleria, because it is not in the Galleria, but it is just a block and a half away. So it's easy walking distance, plus other restaurants that are right around the area that are easy walking distance as well. So it's a beautiful location, and there are places that are open, as you had pointed out when we've held it downtown in the past, that on Labor Day weekend, everything is closed. But here you have many more things that are available.
Exactly. And, to be quite honest with you, I never left the hotel during the 3 days.
Well, the food was good here.
The food was good, and we just kept busy constantly on it. And from early in the morning to late at night, one of the things I put in my president's letter at the beginning of the program, I says, prepare to be sleep deprived. Mm-hmm. And I certainly met that expectation.
We were just talking, you went to bed this morning at 3:30?
3:30, yeah. Yes. Well, we had the Midnight Madness, which is the tradition at the TAOM conventions, started at 12 and it went to a little after 2, so it was a full night. It went maybe a little bit long, but every person that was on that show was great. And the people that went to it just raved about how good it was. So. Yeah. That was kind of the cream on the top of the coffee. That's I think. Right. Yeah,
that was a frosting on the cake. Yeah, it really was. And everything. There's so many different things that we could talk about, and we have. If you listen to the listeners here, listen to the past episodes of Daily Reports, we've been going on and on about certain individual things. Right now, Brent Braun's just completing his presentation, and a lot of times a lot of registrants have flown back home, or they're driving or whatever, and try to get a good early start on Monday morning and don't get a chance to listen to the lecture. But oftentimes we have some of the best lectures, it seems like, on the last day, and this is one of them right now. They're missing Brent. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking in the lecture room, there's quite a few people that are still here.
Actually, that's right. I'd probably say that it looked like it was about all full, but about half. They've already started taking out some of the chairs. Right. But I'd probably say, what would you say, about 100 people in there?
Easily 100, yeah.
I was going to say 100, 120 people or so. Yeah. So a lot of registrants really are here. And I've noticed a lot of suitcases around the room. So people have checked out, but they're just waiting for this to go over so then they can hit the road.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But those who had to fly out, it's a little bit unfortunate. I know that some of the talent had to leave a little bit early, and that was part of the issue. I know that Rob Lake had to kind of come in and out. He's working down in the Bahamas, and then we also had Michael Finney had to leave early this morning because he's got a show then tonight, and Chris Carter, same thing. He wasn't able to hang around as much. But Steve Valentine was here the whole time, and those people who were able to hang out were very accessible.
Exactly. In fact, that's part of the reason why I was up till 3:30 this morning, last night, because there were a lot of really good people. Steve Valentine stuck around and hung out with us and a bunch of other ones, but it was so much fun, and I really like that guy. He was one of my first choices as a pick to talent because I'd seen him at Magic Live. I know he's not seen very much, and boy, he exceeded my expectations because he just hit the ball out of the park.
Yeah, I don't know that other conventions are going to be able to get him because he doesn't perform many conventions.
No. he doesn't have time for one thing because he's a very well-employed actor with all of the different things doing. So, and when he appears at Magic Live, it's only Stan will come to him and try and book him, but he says, as long as if I have something pop up that I can't get out of,
Yeah, the good and bad thing about this is there was a writer's strike, which meant that he didn't bail out the last minute because there's nothing going on because of the strike. So it's bad for him, good for us.
Yes, exactly.
In a way.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a great convention. You've done a great job. You and your staff are to be congratulated.
Well, that's the thing. I had a terrific team of people that put this thing together. It certainly wasn't just me, not by a long shot. And with all of us working together, and we're still friends at the end of this, which is the important thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So next year's going to be a really good convention too in Dallas because there's a lot of reasons to go to Dallas next year. So
absolutely. Well, Dick, again, congratulations. Job well done. I think that's going to be a wrap for this year's convention. TAOM, Houston always seems to hit it out of the park, and we hit another grand slam, I think, here this year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the Astros would have been proud of us, I think.
I think you're right.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was past President Richard Olson. This is Scotty out.